This video is going to cover the Access Chapter 3, Pause and Practice. So we are going to rename this Placer Hills file with our initials space PP A3 dash, and this is going to go to 3, 4. Yes, 3, 4. So we are going to put in a 3-4. Once file is opened up, you're going to want to go ahead and enable editing or enable content if you need to. And from here, our first step is to create a query. So we are now moving from tables into queries. Queries are basically questions that we are asking the database to find the answers by pulling specific information from these tables. So we're going to go up to create, and we are going to hit query design, and we are going to add both tables to the query design. So I'm going to add both of the selected tables, and I'm going to grab the bottom corner and drag this down so I can see all of my fields here. And let me adjust my screen a bit. All right, maybe the best way to do this is I'm going to close this shutter bar here so that these two tables are not in my view anymore. That navigation pane will be out of the way. And after you add these two tables, then you are going to see the grid view down here a little bit easier. So down here, we are going to be adding fields, and it's really simple. Just make sure that you pay attention to which table you're adding that field from, and you're going to double click on the field. So from the listings table, we're going to add listing ID. So you just double click it, address, city, list price, and square foot, beds, baths, garage, and it will still be adding even though it's kind of a little behind the scenes here. After garage, we are going over to the agents table. First name, last name, and phone. So first name, last name, and phone. And we do want the order number or the order to be correct, so that way it'll pop up in our results the same. And so we're pulling those fields from that table essentially to make almost a new table, but it's called a query. We decide that we're going to run this query. So we're going to hit the exclamation point up here, and it shows you all the fields that you just pulled from those tables. And we are going to save this query, and it's called show all listings. So we're going to hit Control S, and we're going to type in show all listings with no spaces. So this is all of our listings that are currently for sale. Somebody calls in and they want to look for a property that's only in Roseville. So we're going to go to the design view. Underneath city, we're going to type in Roseville. Again, has to be spelled right or it's not going to give you the correct response. But once you type in Roseville, it'll automatically add quotes around it next time you see it. We're going to hit datasheet view, or you can hit run, and you're going to see 11 records down here at the bottom. Once you see that you have 11 records, you'll know that that's correct. And this we are going to save a little bit differently. If we hit Control S, we would override our show all listings query. We don't want to do that. We want to save this as a new query. So we're going to hit File, Save As, Save Object As, Save As again, and this is called Listings in Roseville. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. And you can see these objects will start popping up over here on the left in your navigation pane. But again, just for us to be able to kind of see a little bit more of this, I'm closing that out. Then after the listing in Roseville is completed, we're going to close out of that query, and then we're opening up our show all listings query. So we're going to right click on that, and we're going to go to design view. I'm going to close out of my navigation pane again, and this time we are looking for listings with an attached garage. So we're going to go over to garage, and we are going to put in the criteria row, like, space, quote, asterisk, attached. So the asterisk is something that you should have read about in your STEM book. It's a wildcard character that can stand for any number of characters coming before the word attached. So this person wants an attached garage. So we are going to hit run. You should get 37 results. We're going to hit file, save as, save object as, save as again, and this is called listings with attached garage. After you hit OK, it has you close out of the database. We don't need to do that because we've already resaved it with that ending file name. We are going to create a new blank query. So I'm going to close out of this current query that I'm in, and I'm going to hit create, and we're going to hit query design. I'm going to add both of the tables. So right now this pops up on queries. We want to change it back to tables. I'm adding both of these tables. You can click on one, hold down shift or control to add to select the other one, and then you can hit add selected tables to add both of them. I'm going to close out of that dialog box, and we're going to drag these down so I can see them, or close out of that pane, I should have said. And from here, we are again right clicking in each of the to increase the size to display all of the fields. Oh, another thing that you can do is if you right click in here, you can hit size to fit instead of dragging the bottom edges down. That's just another quick tip. You can also drag each individual field down to the design grid instead of double clicking. So that's also an option. So we are going to double click first name, and then we're going to double click last name in our agents table. And we are going to, in the first name field, we're going to type in Millie and criteria. And then the last name field, we're going to type capital B, lowercase ui. And then we are going to get into the, if there's a feature that pops up with this build criteria, you can just hit escape. We don't need to do that. And we're going to run this query. Gives you everybody who has a listing with that first and last name, or every listing with the first and last name. And then we're going to go back to the design view, and we're going to edit the query by adding a sort order. So we're going to sort the city. We're adding city, sorry, and then sorting it. So add city, and then we are going to go to sort, and we're going to choose ascending here. And then we are going to add list price. And whoops, I added it twice. So if you accidentally add something twice, you're just going to click above it. You'll get this little black arrow, and you can hit delete on your keyboard, and it'll automatically delete that. We're going to choose ascending for list price, and then we're going to uncheck show boxes for the first name and last name. So this means that it won't show in the results, but it'll still be filtered to this. It's still pulling only this person's listings. Then we're going to open up the property sheet. So you can hit F4 on your keyboard, and we are going to click the field row of list price. So we are going into list price. We're just clicking in the field row of list price. And then in the drop down menu here for decimal places, we are going to choose 0. And we're going to close out of the property sheet. And we are going to save the changes to the query. So it looks like I may have missed adding a couple of fields here, so I'm going to show you how to add them if you have to do it after the fact for some reason. So I'm missing listing ID, square foot, and address, and that's just my brain kind of reading through the directions too fast, which is typical Dr. Feuline. But we are going to double click square foot, and it'll add it down here to the design grid. So we can just click on it. Once we have it selected, then you can just drag it to where it needs to be. So I'm going to drag it to the left of city. Then I also want listing ID. So I'm going to double click listing ID, click it, drag it to the left of square foot. So I have listing ID, square foot, and I just need address. So I'm going to double click address, and then I'm going to go and scroll over a bit, and now I'm going to click and drag address for city. So now I have all of the correct fields in there. I'm still leaving that ascending sort order. And when we run it, it looks like I'm going to get 10. So I'm going to hit run up top here. And we have, again, our agent for these listings has been removed, but it's still filtered to her. And we have 10 here. And we are still in the same query. And we need to name it. I must have missed a saving name. Listings by Millie BUI. So I'm going to hit Control S. And we're going to type that in. And we're going to hit OK. So we're going to go down to number 8, where we're going to be creating a new query. So I'm going to close out of that query. We're going to hit Create. We're going to go to Query Design. We are double clicking the listings table. Again, make sure you're on the tables section of this. And we are just adding the listings table. We're going to close out of that. We are double clicking the listing ID field. And then we're going to add address, city, list price. And I'm going to size this to fit. Address, city, list price, square foot, beds, baths, and garage. All right. You can read the scenario here in number 10, but essentially this gentleman's looking for a house in Rockland or Roseville. So on the city line and criteria, we're going to type in Rockland. And on the or line right below it, you're going to type in Roseville. Then we're going to look at the list prices. We're going to do less than or equal to 600, and then 3 more zeros, 1, 2, 3, and then less than or equal to 550, and then 3 more zeros if it's in Roseville. And then the square foot is going to be greater than or equal to 1800, and then greater than or equal to 1800. The beds are going to be greater than or equal to 2, greater than or equal to 2, and then the baths are going to be greater than or equal to, whoops, I messed up. So this needs to be greater than or equal to 3. Sorry, this is greater than or equal to 3. This one is going to be greater than or equal to 2, and this one's greater than or equal, greater than or equal to 2. So double check these ones over first. Make sure that you have everything in there. Make sure all of your less than and greater than symbols are pointed correctly. Make sure you have equal after all of them, looks like, and make sure that all your numbers are correct. Then we get over to the garage. So the garage one's a little tricky because we're adding a couple wildcard characters. We're going to type in like, space, quote, question mark, car, and then there's an asterisk, unquote. So you can copy and paste this, control C, and then down arrow, control V, if that's easier, or you can just retype it down below. But once you have all of those fields filled out and you run it, you are going to get 11 records, but it looks like we're also adding an ascending sort order for city and a descending sort order for list price. So let's go back into design view, and we're looking for city is going to be ascending, and then we have a descending sort order for list price. So again, we're running this. We still have 11 records, and we're going to hit Control S. And this one is called Listings for Brandon Buchanan. So again, if you want to copy and paste this in, if that's easier for you, you can, or you can type that in. That set of directions is done. We're moving on to 3.3 now. Our first step in this section is going to be to create another query. So we're going to hit create, we're going to go to query design, we're going to again click on tables, we're adding both the agents and the listings table, and we're going to hit add selected tables, close out of this pane, And we are going to right click inside of here and put size to fit so that way we can see it. And it wants us to right click in the first empty cell. So we're going to left click and then right click in here. And it wants us to go to this build option. And what we're doing is we are creating a new field that isn't in the tables, but it's using the fields from the tables in order to generate this new field. And this new field is going to be called agent's name. And I am copying it and pasting it from the directions here. And we've typed in agent's name, colon, space, left, parenthesis, bracket, first name, no space, bracket, comma, 1. We're using the first letter of the first name, followed by a period, and then followed by the last name. And that is going to create a new field for us called agent's name. And you'll see what that looks like in a second. Then we're going to double click listing ID, listing price, and then we're going to hit Control S, and we're going to call this potential commission by property. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. From there, we're going to hit run, and it wants us to adjust the agent's name width so that we can see the entire name. So I've just double clicked that. And then we're going to edit the query to add a field to calculate the potential commission. So we're going to go back to design view, and then we are going to click in the next new field here and create another field. So we're going to right click and we're going to go to zoom, and we are going to copy and paste over potential commission colon is going to be the list price multiplied by 0.06, which is 6%. So they have a potential commission of 6% of the list price to be earned if they sell the property. So we're going to hit OK. Then it has us go to F4, so FN, F4, or F4 on your keyboard, whatever you need to do to open up that property sheet. And we are still in the potential commission field here, and we are looking for format, and we are formatting this as currency. I'm going to go ahead and close out of our property sheet, and we are going to save the query, and then we are going to run it, and then we are going to be on number 10. So we're going to go into design view, and then we are going to go for first name. So again, you might have to use this arrow to go over to see all of your fields back down there in your design grid. I'm going to double click first name and last name so we can add that down to the design grid. And then underneath first name, in the criteria, you can type or copy and paste this information. And what we're doing is we are creating a parameter value underneath first name, and then we are going to put this underneath last name. And the parameter value is going to prompt the user to put in the agent's first name and the agent's last name before they can actually get into the query itself. So we're going to go ahead and hit run, and it's going to pop up and it's going to say enter the agent's first name. So we're going to type in Gerardo, Gerardo, and then the last name, Montoya, Montoya. So once it generates Gerardo Montoya, we can see that we have 5 results, and we're going to go ahead and save as for this object. So be really careful. Don't hit regular save because we don't want to override the previous query. So we are going to hit File, Save As, Save Object As, Save As again, and we're going to type in, or you can copy and paste, agent parameter potential commission by property. After that, we're going to move down to 3-4. It's going to ask us to create a new query again. So I'm going to close out of this one, and we're going to hit create, and we're going to query design. And then we're going to add, once you're on the tables, both of the tables. And then from there, we are going to close out of the add tables option. We're going to double click first name, double click last name, list price, and list price again. So we are adding list price twice down here to the design grid. What we're looking to do is create a count of list prices. So how many list prices do we have? And then we're going to create an average of those list prices. So you'll see there's a total row here in the demonstration, but there's no total row over here. And before we get into that, one of the other ways too, if I haven't mentioned, of changing these fields down here is to click on the drop-down menu, and you can choose the field from here as well. This particular assignment actually has you assigning those fields down there using that drop-down menu option. I just still think it's easier to double click, but whatever works for you. To get that total row up down below, we are going to, I believe it's on the home tab. Let me actually make this a little bit bigger so I can see. It is not on the home tab. Let's go to query design. There it is. Query design, totals in the show hide group. When you add that totals, now you have that total. So down here, we're going to do group by, and this one's going to be count, and then this one is going to be average, so AVG. So once you've assigned those two totals, our next step for this particular assignment is to save this. So we're going to hit Control S because this is a new blank query that we created. And we are going to type in or copy and paste listing count and average price by agent. I'm going to take that period off the end. And then from there we can run it. It gives you the first names and last names all grouped together because we don't have 5 Gerardos or 5 Montoyas. We have them all grouped together. Then we have, okay, he has 5 listings, so he has 5 list prices. You add them all up, divide it by 5, you're going to get that average list price here. It does want us to best fit the columns, so I would go first name all the way over to average list price, double click, make sure that they're all best fit. And then we are going to move on to number 10. So with this saved, it already is. We're going to close that out. We're going to, yes, save it. Go to create, and this time we are going to create a crosstab query. So we're going to go to Query Wizard. With the crosstab option up, it's going to be the second one. We're going to click Create Crosstab. Then we're going to hit OK. And we are going to select the listings table. And then we're going to hit Next. And then from the listings table, we are going to move over the city. So we're going to click on city, hit the arrow to move it over. And then we're going to hit Next. And then we are looking for construction to be the column headings. So we are going to click on construction. And then we're going to hit Next. And we are selecting the listing ID and count as our aggregate function. And then we are going to hit Next. And then we are going to name this Listings City Construction crosstab. Again, you can type it in or you can copy and paste it over, whatever works for you. And then we're going to check it out so we can see how each one of those different components plays a role in that crosstab, which is pretty neat. Again, I'm going to go ahead and auto fit it so that way I can see everything in this particular crosstab query. And then we are good to save, close it out, and then upload it.